will the day ever come where AI replaces UX and UI design? I fundamentally don't believe that it will, because we have empathy.
The unfair advantage.
How's it? I'm your host, Don Packett, and with me again is the guy who can sport long hair, short hair, beard, no beard, and still bring all the boys to the yard. Hello, Kelvin Jonck.
Don. Yeah, thanks for that intro. If I'm bringing all the boys to the yard, I better stop, because I need to keep those filthy mongrels away from my daughters as long as possible, I guess.
Amazing. Speaking of filthy mongrels, I'm joking. Kelvin, do you know, so we're on episode 14 of The Unfair Advantage, and, I've got into this little rhythm of finding things. And number 14 is some major mathematical and cultural significances, like a cuboctahedron, which is one of my favorite hadrons, is a 14-sided hadron shape. There are 14 days and half a lunar cycle. Formula One driver Fernando Alonso, who won 2 Formula One championships, won his first go-karting championship at the age of 14 on the 14th of July in the car 14, and he still drives a race car with number 14 today. And according to numerology, 14 is associated with themes of balance, harmony, progress, and adaptability. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Don, thank you. Every time you're a wealth of number knowledge. I'm gonna use your balance, harmony, progress link to segue to our guest today, because I think in her job and her company, balance, harmony, progress, these are all the things that she's helping her customers bring together when they're building digital products. How's that for a segue? Okay. So welcome to the Unfair Advantage, Leigh Stefanski from Now Boarding.
Thank you, guys. It is so lovely to be here. Thank you for my new lucky number, Don. I think I'm going to bank that one and possibly play the lotto tonight, is it?
Nice. Just choose 6 14s.
Leigh, I'm gonna jump in here. I'm gonna just let I guess everybody that's listening know, every interaction I've ever had with you, you are the nicest, friendliest, most gracious person in the room, and I'm really appreciate that. Every conversation we've had it's thoughtful, it's meaningful, and you go out of your way to help in every way. And I think that comes from this world of problem solving, which I'm guessing is what you've built into your business. But you started in food blogging, am I right? For Getaway? How did the problem solving fix get scratched, or that itch get scratched in food blogging?
Wow, Kelvin, you are making me give my age away. I mean, that was probably 20 years ago. So thanks for that.
You didn't have to put a date on it.
Done the maths. I actually, interestingly, I grew up in a household sitting at the tech dinner table. So my parents built a tech business around me as I was growing up. So I swore blind that I would never be in business. I would never be in technology. I just wanted to be a creative. So photography became my thing. Food I became pretty passionate about. And so I kind of landed with bum in the butter at Getaway magazine as their food travel journalist for a while. But while I was there, I was also seconded onto the digital product side of the business at the young age of 20, because nobody else really wanted to give it any love or attention. And somehow digital was always just in my blood. So while I was doing travel and journ, I was also running the digital side of the Getaway business at the time, had some phenomenal mentors along the way. And so just kind of ended up in tech one way or another. And yeah, from there, basically, I was asked to join the Property 24 team in the digital marketing space, the digital marketing role. Had also just some absolutely remarkable mentors, colleagues, learned so much from them along the way, but just fell in love with product. And yeah, the rest is history. I've been in product ever since.
So Leigh, you were, probably 24, you were managing the marketing brand, and you've been with Now Boarding from a marketing director and managing director for almost 11 years, which is amazing. What made you jump from this nice little cushy corporate space with the 24 group to now having to, handle the demands of hundreds of customers?
Oh, Don, I don't have a negative thought or memory about my time in corporate. Honestly, I would recommend that anybody does a stint in not necessarily a corporate space, but in a space surrounded with brilliant people, because I learned so much from just the product people that were around me, the sales people that were around me, the marketing side, the customer interaction side, the customer support side. And it was only through being able to be in that environment and have the exposure to all of the different aspects of busyness that I felt equipped at some stage to make that jump. There are many, many people who don't and that figure it out as they go. However, I definitely, I think that my time in bigger teams, bigger organizations prepared me to be able to take that step into running a small business a lot more effectively than I would have been able to do it cold.
It's amazing because there's so many people who do it the opposite way as well, right? They say the working in a small agile business got me, built this foundation of being able to solve quick problems. And now I'm going to go into the big corporate world because they need these big problems solved. And oftentimes either they make it work or they get held back. But it's very interesting how oftentimes you feel we need to move from one space to the other because you've learned, and built that different kind of foundations you can apply to a different way of thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, Donna. I think, one of the biggest changes for me was I found that sometimes in corporate environments, there are a lot of agendas and there are a lot of egos that get in the way of innovation. And that was one of the big triggers for me, was just I wanted to be in a space where what if was a challenge, not a threat. And it was so beautiful moving into a scenario where every client is excited by the ask, what if? What if we can do this together? Where within the business itself, if I can pitch something to my partners and say, what if we do it this way? Everything is open. Everything is open to ideas and opportunities. So yeah, it was a big change, but it was one of the things that I've definitely never looked back on.
I think I had a similar experience having come from that corporate space. I say the same thing as you, Leigh. Everybody coming up in their career should spend a little bit of time there because you know what those issues are that the professionals have to deal with. And then, when you're out of it, you can help them solve it, whether it's politics, whether it's silos, whether it's, how to get things done. Just you understanding that red tape, I guess, helps your clients a lot, right?
Absolutely, Kelvin. And I think to your point exactly, being on the other side, we can also empathize with the decision-making processes that they're going through, the layers of management, the hurdles that they're facing, and we can really help them to get over those by just having that level of understanding.
Yeah. So Leigh, you and Now Boarding, you guys are very much in the user experience space, helping, technology companies, but other companies as well, improve. And, a big reason for Don and I, relaunching this podcast in the first place is to try and give the thousands of listeners that we have, that exactly what the title says, this unfair advantage. They get to learn from the experts that we have speaking to us. So, I guess this industry that we've we've been in a bit of a boys' club for the last, initially, but very much not that these days. And I see that changing for the better. What lessons I think did you maybe learn on the journey that you were on to where you are today? And what could you maybe give some young aspiring talent trying to make a difference in this user experience world? Maybe even with the view of where the world is now, AI coming in, making a lot of that job different. I'm not going to say anything else about it. Any thoughts?
So Kelvin, it's a conversation that we have every day in studio at the moment. I think that with the AI tools that are coming out in our space, we see it as a superpower. So we are excited and looking forward to them getting to a point where they can help us to accelerate what they do, what we do. I think the fear for the younger generations coming into our space is that they never truly learn the craft because they have the prompt. And, we are in the very fortunate position where if we have the prompt, it can really enable our craft. But we need, will the day ever come where AI replaces UX and UI design? I fundamentally don't believe that it will, because we have empathy. And empathy is so needed in great UX and UI design. We have to be able to empathize with our user, their context, their story, their situation, and be able to apply critical creative thought and thinking to the problems that we are helping our clients to solve. We can do that because we've had years and years of experience doing that. For the designers coming into the industry, they may become brilliant prompters. They may be far better prompters than we will ever be. But will they ever be able to have that layer of craft? We're not sure. So I think finding that balance for them is going to be really important. Otherwise, we're going to end up in this world of the most generic user experiences across the board.
Yeah, I wrote it down this week. I'm on a panel, moderating a panel in a couple of weeks, where we're asking the question of whose role is it to help the younger up and coming people cross that chasm? Because there is an automatic chasm that's created for them, as you say. Is it companies like ourselves who solve problems for bigger businesses? Is it the role of the big business to fund that kind of education, give these people some experience? Any thoughts on kind of who is maybe best positioned to help the kids?
The kids, I think, it's as with anything, that real world practical application is the most important. I came out of university feeling like I had touched on a million different things and was equipped to do nothing. And it was actually only in getting feet in the door, internship after internship, that I actually started to feel a little competent. So I think we all have a role in business and a responsibility to open those doors, like so many did for us before us. So, in our business, we don't have capacity to have endless learnerships going, but we regularly have interns in our studio that we bring in. We get them to spend time with us. We put them on real work and real projects. They go through real creative reviews. And yeah, we haven't met this point yet where, AI designers are coming through, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what tooling they can bring into the studio that we maybe haven't been exposed to, but the craft that we can share back with them. And I also think universities have a huge role, and the technicons and the design schools, there's a huge role to still teach the craft of design, because it's going to get to a very awkward point where if we've got designers coming out who don't have the craft, but the businesses are still really needing the craft. I mean, in the recruitment space, we're finding it more and more difficult to find new young talent that really have that attention to craft. So yeah, I think we all have a shared responsibility.
It reminds me of that quote that Albert Einstein: "Education is not the learning of facts, but training the mind to think." Right, and I think that's where we are. We need a lot more thinking, because there's a lot of doing, but we need to train ourselves again to think, as opposed to just and in this instance to use the term to prompt, right? Because that's where we're at.
Don,
Leigh
couldn't have said-
Stefanski, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are a force to be reckoned with, and such a lovely personality and such an amazing person to have on our show. So thank you. We're lucky to have you in our community, and looking forward to many more great things that you and the Now Morning team will be building.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Always a pleasure catching up.
The unfair advantage.